I heard that your New Year's resolution is to start a sketchbook because I actually happen to have 7 steps on how to make it work for you. Okay, step 1, picking out your sketchbook. This is my favorite part, the part that we probably all love because if you're like me, you might be addicted to buying sketchbooks. Choosing the right sketchbook is crucial in your enjoyment using it, which will result in how frequently you use it. And if you're shopping for a new sketchbook, these are the things that I would look for. First of all, dimensions. Consider whether you want to be able to carry this sketchbook with you everywhere and what that means for you. Like, should it be able to fit in your pocket, or do you carry a purse? And if so, how big is your purse? Or does that not really matter? Do you want a sketchbook that will just sit on your desk at home? And then when you're making art, think about, do you gravitate towards like square canvases or horizontal pieces of paper? Think about the dimension and orientation that you most often find yourself working in, because that'll just make working in your sketchbook way more natural. Personally, I would recommend not being too ambitious with the size. I know it's really fun when you see those giant sketchbooks, but once you open it up and start working in it, unless you're like a really loose painter or something, all of that blank space to fill up can just be kind of intimidating. And then on the opposite side, if you get a sketchbook that's too small, again, that might seem really fun because it's like you can make tiny little drawings, but I think that a really small sketchbook can be kind of restricting. I would do a medium normal size, I don't know, whatever that is for you. Think about if you want a hardcover or soft cover. I have right now this Midori sketchbook that I've been working in for a while now, and I really like how the cover is just like paper. It's like a thicker cardstock type paper. And I've come to realize that that's kind of my favorite because I was looking back on my old sketchbooks and I also really liked my Muji one. I think maybe for the same reason, because it had like a soft cover. Also think about if it lays flat, especially if you're left-handed, this can be really annoying, or like if it has a spiral in the middle. I'm not left-handed, but just something to think about. And then consider the type of paper. Like if you paint with watercolor, you might want to get a sketchbook that is specifically made for watercolor. Or if you do collage, get a paper that's a little bit more heavyweight to be able to hold the glue. But at the same time, maybe you're someone who doesn't care about that and you like when the pages get a little wrinkly. It's all up to personal preference. I personally love a crinkly piece of paper. Think about the texture, like do you like a little grit or do you want it to be really smooth? There's so many different types of paper. You could even make your own sketchbook. And then if it matters to you, think about the quality of paper. Some people don't mind if their markers bleed through to the next page, but other people that bothers them. For me, I think I like kind of like a middle grade sketchbook. If it's too fancy, I feel worried about ruining it, and that's when the sketchbook feels like every page should be a work of art, which doesn't really work for me. So I don't mind a little bit of bleeding and crinkly pages. I just like paper that feels nice to draw on. And then above all else, choose a sketchbook that just feels so special to you. Like sometimes you're in the store and, not to sound dramatic, but you just have like a special connection with a certain sketchbook. It just makes you feel excited and in the mood to create. And if that's the case, I think you should get it. Okay, next, supplies. Again, this is super up to you, but if you're looking for some suggestions, this is my short list of what I consider my sketchbook supplies. Like if I'm going out to draw, these are the things that I would take with me in my bag. I always bring watercolor, a little watercolor set, one that opens up and has a tray on one side so that I don't have to bring a separate palette. And then I also like to use the brushes that are filled with water so that, again, I don't have to bring water, but I do always make sure to bring paper towels. I also like to have scissors and glue because then I can collage stuff, cut stuff out that I find. I don't know, it's just fun to have. I usually have some sort of crayon with me, whether it's just like Crayola or Caran d'Ache. I also have like this German brand of crayon, and the colors that I have in that pack are kind of weird. They're like browns and stuff, but they come in pretty handy. I, of course, always have an assortment of pens. I like to have a brush pen because that can be really fun for like observational drawing. It just gives it a little bit of texture. It's also nice because the weight of the line is a little thicker, so it doesn't take as long to make a drawing. I also like to have really thin little pens, like maybe a micron pen. I love my Muji pen. I also have like the Slicky pen, and then colored pencils. I have like a mix of water-soluble ones and just regular ones. And that's everything. Just my little assortment of goodies. Now that you've got everything you need, supplies-wise, let's talk about where you're gonna draw. because I think it's important to set the mood a little bit. Maybe plan a little night to yourself where you can just sit and draw and have fun. So sit at your desk or your dining table, whatever your table of choice is, and maybe have some candles, set the mood, and then if you want some entertainment, put on your favorite TV show in the background. I'm loving Gilmore Girls right now, of course. You could also put on some music if TV's too distracting, or a podcast, like some sort of creative podcast. On the other hand, you can also go out into nature so that you're surrounded by like beauty and inspiration and things to draw. Or you can make a whole day of it, go to a cafe, get a little fun drink, maybe stop by a bookstore. Of course, you don't have to make such a production of drawing in your sketchbook every time you draw in your sketchbook, but I just think it's like a nice thing to do to break it in. It's kind of like you're on a date, you're getting to know each other, because you're gonna be spending a lot of time with this object. You gotta introduce yourself, but you might need a little bit of inspiration. Start by looking at Pinterest. Look at some paintings, illustrations, comics, whatever you're into. Appreciate the artwork. Appreciate the fact that somebody made that. Look at the colors, the textures, any like techniques that they use that you're like, whoa, I haven't thought of that before. Notice anything that's interesting compositionally. Just browse and feel excited about the idea of making art. Then get off Pinterest. Instead of thinking about Pinterest as a place to go get ideas, think of it as a place to go get this feeling of wanting to create. And then you're going to come up with your ideas somewhere else. Find your ideas about what you want to draw from the things that you've been thinking about or emotions that you've been feeling, and focus on your world as a way to make art and as a source for inspiration. If you're someone that needs some art by your side while you're creating, I would recommend doing it in a more physical way, like going to the library and checking out an art book. I personally love having David Hockney's work next to me while I'm painting. Just the colors and everything about his work is just so inspiring. Or you can check out some reference books from the library, like say you want to get really good at drawing chairs, look at the interior design books or something like that, and then you can draw from those photos. Other things that you could reference are like antique pieces of paper, such as vintage magazines or newspapers, weird old like Victorian photos. Valentine's cards are super cute, stuff like that. So now that we've got that all set up, it's time to start doing stuff to the sketchbook. I personally think it's a good idea to start by decorating. Decorating is just so fun. You can put stickers all over the cover, you can collage the cover, you can write your name all over it. Just make it feel like it's yours. And then you get to start drawing. I find myself always starting my sketchbook with a little introduction page where I write my name really cute in bubble letters or cursive or something. One time I printed out all of these like photo stickers of different things that described me, like a pair of shoes that I was wearing all the time, just a little selfie, and I stuck those all over the first page, and I really enjoy looking back on that sketchbook because I just know like exactly where I was in my life at the time of creating everything in it. Other ideas to help you get started: observational drawings are super great because it's just easy. You look at something and draw it. You could also cut out some pieces of construction paper and stick it in because, you know, all that white space can be kind of intimidating, and this way it just breaks it up. You can also make a collage like from magazines or newspaper, or you can print stuff out of like things that you're loving right now, make a little collage of that. Another good thing to do is just drench the page in watercolor, and then you can draw on top of that if you want, or maybe having a page full of cover is enough for you to like say that the book is started and move on to your second page. Now that you've started, it's time to make it a routine. I think that's kind of everyone's goal when starting a sketchbook. I think in order for sketchbooking to stay fun, like it is when you're first starting it, it's important to not make the book too precious. This is a trap that I've fallen into before, where I buy a sketchbook and I say, everything in here is going to be a finished painting. Every page is going to be its own complete work of art, and it all just happens to be neatly packed in this little book. But that doesn't work for me. Anytime I try this, I abandon the sketchbook completely. You need to set realistic expectations. That's the other thing. I don't think you should tell yourself to draw in here every day, especially if you're someone that hasn't drawn in months and you're just picking up sketchbooking again. That's a really big jump. And giving yourself those type of parameters is just gonna turn it into a chore. When I tell myself to draw every day in my sketchbook, then I feel really bad if I miss a day and I just kind of forget about it altogether. Don't get me wrong, drawing every day is a good goal to have. I just don't think it needs to be paired with your sketchbook. Think about your sketchbook as a place to test out ideas, sketch your thumbnails, maybe stick little things that you find inside of it, but you can also make beautiful finished paintings. It's a mix of all of those things together. Your sketchbook is your friend, so be nice to it, be nice to yourself, be forgiving, and have fun. Thank you so much for watching. Check out my other sketchbook videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye!